The year is 1284. A mountain monastery sits shrouded in mist, its wooden gates towering like the jaws of some silent beast. You do not knock. You do not speak. You are led inside by a man whose voice you've never heard, whose eyes never meet yours, and yet, you feel owned already. They call you Chigo now, temple boy. You're 12 years old. Your hair is shaven in strange patterns you don't understand. Your silk robe is heavy and cold, not a gift, but a uniform, the first chain in a prison without walls. You were told you'd come here to learn the teachings of the Buddha. But the air here is thick with incense and something else, a tension, a watchfulness, as if the statues themselves are keeping a ledger of what will happen to you. An older monk approaches. His robes whisper against the polished floors. His hand lands on your shoulder, light, almost gentle, and yet, in that instant, you understand, this touch is not kindness. It is ownership. This is Japan's hidden history, the history no tourist brochure will mention, no classroom will dare to teach. The history of boys taken from their homes and reshaped into living ornaments for men who wrapped their appetites in the language of holiness. They told your parents you would be educated, elevated, protected. But they didn't tell them about the nights, the silence after the bells stop ringing. The rituals that twist the meaning of devotion until it becomes something you can never speak of again. You are not the first. You will not be the last. The system is older than the ink in the temple scrolls. Older than the laws that pretend to guard the innocent. Here, beauty is currency, and innocence is the most expensive commodity of all. What I am about to show you is not legend. It is not rumor. It is written in the margins of temple ledgers, hidden in coded language in monks' diaries, disguised in the poetry of an age that preferred beauty to truth. You will see how a nation's most sacred spaces became its most hidden marketplaces. And if you keep watching, you will not walk away the same man you are right now. Inside the temple, the rules are older than memory. You wake before dawn, not because you choose to, but because the bells decide when you breathe. Your first task is not prayer. It is service. Draw the bath. Lay out the robes. Arrange the inkstones and calligraphy brushes for a man who calls himself your teacher. They tell you this is Nanshoku, the way of male colors. A tradition, they say, stretching back centuries. The older monk is your ninja, your guide to both the spiritual and the personal. He recites lines from Buddhist scripture, words about compassion, enlightenment, the shedding of desire, and then, with perfect calm, explains how you are the path to his awakening. It sounds insane to you now, but remember, you are 12. You have never known another world. Every adult you see agrees with him. Every scroll on the shelf, every carved figure of the Buddha, every ritual in the hall seems to confirm it. This is the genius of the system, it doesn't just take your body. It takes your mind and rewires it so that you don't even think of running. Resistance isn't punished first, it's erased. They tell you your suffering is sacred. That your submission is an offering. That every moment you endure in silence polishes your soul for the next life. And it works. You begin to wonder if maybe this is holy. Maybe the unease you feel is just the weakness leaving you. The older boys look calm, graceful, almost proud in their role, but their eyes are hollow. The monks are not predators in their own minds. They are scholars, men of discipline, guardians of an ancient lineage. And that's what makes them dangerous, they have convinced themselves they are right. That what they take from you is not theft, but instruction. Outside the monastery, famine grips the countryside. Parents, desperate and starving, send their sons to these temples thinking they've secured a better life for them. They will never know what those sons endure. When the doors close at night, the temple becomes a theater. Every movement, every word, is performance, the performance of obedience. And the audience is not just your ninja. It's the entire institution, watching for cracks in the mask. The truth? You are no longer a boy. You are property draped in silk. And silk is very good at hiding the chains beneath. It happens quickly the first time you see it. A boy, maybe 13, is brought before the senior monks. His head is bowed, but you can still see the swelling on his cheek. They say he dishonored his ninja. You don't need to ask what that means. There is no trial here. No defense. The verdict is decided before he even enters the hall. 2 temple servants take him by the arms, dragging him toward a side corridor you've never walked before. You follow at a distance, because every boy knows, when punishment happens, you watch. The room is silent except for the sound of bamboo, thin, green rods swishing through the air before striking bare skin. At first the boy grits his teeth, but the blows keep coming. 5, 10, 15. The bamboo splits, sharp fibers digging into his back. Still, no one looks away. You are meant to learn something from this. Starvation is another lesson. The punished are given water, but no food, for days. It's not just hunger, it's humiliation. The other boys are ordered to eat in front of them, to speak casually about the taste of the rice, the sweetness of the pickled plums. The monks call it spiritual correction. They talk about cleansing impurities, restoring the harmony between master and student. But you see the truth, this is breaking. Not the body alone, the mind. Some boys are locked in solitary cells, no larger than a coffin stood on its side. No light. No warmth. Only the sound of the temple bells marking time, hour after hour, day after day, until time itself starts to dissolve. And then there are the marks, intentional, visible scars carved into the face or body. These are not random injuries, they are symbols. A cut along the cheekbone. A burn on the hand. A missing fingertip. A warning to others that this boy once defied the order, and lost. You think you will never be in that position. You think you are clever enough, careful enough. But the truth is, every boy here will break eventually. It is only a matter of when, and how loudly. And in the silence after the punishment is done, you understand something cold. Here, pain is not just discipline. It is currency. And the more you pay, the deeper you belong to them. You think it will end when your voice deepens. You think once you lose the childlike beauty the monks prize, they will release you. In a way, they do, but not into the world you dreamed of. One morning, you are summoned to the abbot's chamber. A samurai is waiting. His armor is polished to a mirror shine, his expression unreadable. You are told you have been selected, a great honor. The monk speaks as if you've won a prize. But the samurai's eyes assess you the way a trader assesses a horse. You leave the monastery not as a free man, but as a wakashu, a warrior's apprentice. That is the official term. The truth is uglier. You have been sold. In the temple, exploitation hid behind the language of compassion. Here, in the samurai compound, there is no such disguise. These men make no apologies for their appetites. They believe dominance is the foundation of strength, and they will teach you to submit with the same precision they use to teach swordsmanship. Your training is relentless. At dawn, sword drills. By afternoon, wrestling and mounted archery. By nightfall, you are summoned to your master's chambers, where the lessons change. In this world, your body is not separate from your loyalty. They make that clear from the start. If you want food, protection, advancement, you will serve in all ways. Refuse, and you will find yourself back in the mud, discarded, with nowhere to go. Some boys break quickly. Others adapt, even flourish, learning to weaponize their beauty for better treatment. But no one escapes unchanged. The warrior code, Bushido, is twisted here, honor becomes obedience, loyalty becomes possession. Ceremonies formalize this ownership. Contracts are signed, sealed in front of witnesses, blessed by Shinto priests. They call it brotherhood, but the clauses are clear, your body belongs to your master. If you run, if you resist, the punishments are identical to desertion in battle. You soon understand that this is not a temporary stage. Many wakashu never rise to become independent samurai. They are traded as gifts between lords, used to cement alliances, paraded at feasts like prized weapons. And even if you do survive long enough to earn your own sword, the shadow of these years will follow you. The cycle is already inside you, and most men, once free, will take a boy of their own. The years pass. You learn to fight, to endure, to keep your face still when pain blooms like fire in your ribs. You learn to read your master's moods, when his tone means danger, when his silence means worse. And somewhere along the way, you stop thinking about leaving. That is how the system wins. Not through bars and chains, but through transformation. The boy who once flinched at a touch now gives orders to newer boys, correcting their posture, teaching them how to avoid angering the wrong man at the wrong moment. You tell yourself you're helping them survive. But deep down, you know you are also preparing them to serve. The samurai do not fear rebellion, because they know the cycle will hold. A boy becomes a wakashu. A wakashu becomes a warrior. A warrior takes a boy of his own. There is no official decree, no law commanding it, just tradition, older and harder than any law. And it is not always hatred that sustains it. That is the cruelest truth. Sometimes, the bond between master and boy grows twisted into something that feels like loyalty, even affection. You begin to believe the stories, that your suffering has made you strong, that you are now passing on discipline rather than abuse. By the time you are given your own apprentice, you have choices, but not really. The other warriors expect it. Refusing would be seen as weakness, an insult to the man who once trained you. And part of you, the part shaped in silence and punishment, believes this is simply how the world works. This is how an empire hides its crimes, not by erasing them, but by making them custom. By turning violation into ceremony, pain into legacy. It is a machine that runs without kings or ministers, without written orders, because it has already been installed in the minds of the men who serve it. Even now, as you hand your apprentice his first silk robe, you feel a strange ache, something between pride and shame. You tell yourself you're preparing him for survival. But the truth is, you are passing him the same chains that were once placed on you. And if you've listened this far, you understand, once a cycle like this begins, it does not end by itself. Someone has to break it. And in this world, breaking it could mean your life. The century turns. The shogun's grip tightens. The wars fade, but the hunger for control, and for flesh, remains. The cities swell with life, Edo, Kyoto, Osaka. Narrow streets thrum with merchants, gamblers, entertainers. Lantern light spills over crowds like liquid gold. And in the heart of each city, behind high wooden walls, lies the yukaku, the licensed pleasure quarter. The most famous of them all is Yoshiwara in Edo. Here, the system that once hid behind temple incense and samurai honor now wears a mask of theater and commerce. In these districts, male prostitutes are called kajima, shadow actors. The name fits. They are both performers and possessions, trained to vanish behind the roles they play. Their beauty is deliberate, cultivated. Hair oiled and styled to perfection. Kimono patterns chosen to amplify youth. Movements rehearsed until they seem effortless. The government licenses the trade, claiming it is to control vice, but the truth is simpler: taxation. Every contract signed, every coin exchanged, fills the coffers of officials who publicly condemn what they privately profit from. The shogunate understands what the temples and the samurai always knew: desire is a resource, and control over it is power. Boys are recruited in familiar ways. Procurers roam the countryside during bad harvests, offering desperate parents the promise of apprenticeship in the entertainment arts. The papers they sign might as well be chains. 10 years of service, the fine print says, though few emerge whole enough to serve beyond that. Inside the quarters, the hierarchy is ruthless. The most beautiful and compliant Kojima earn the highest fees, paraded for elite clients, wealthy merchants, high-ranking samurai, even government officials. The rest fade into the back rooms, serving whoever can pay, and paying for the privilege with their health. The performance never stops. By day, they recite poetry, play shamisen, and serve tea in perfect ceremony. By night, they serve in other ways. The line between art and violation is erased entirely, replaced by the smooth surface of commerce. The pleasure districts perfect what the temples and castles began, the transformation of a person into a product. And in this market, there is no age too young, no price too high, no humanity that cannot be carved away for profit. What began as ritual has become industry. And industry does not feel guilt. The pleasure districts perfect what the temples and castles began, the transformation of a person into a product. And in this market, there is no age too young, no price too high, no humanity that cannot be carved away for profit. What began as ritual has become industry. And industry does not feel guilt. Once you pass through the gates of Yoshiwara, the outside world disappears. The air smells of incense and sake, thick with the hum of shamisen strings and the murmur of private conversations. But beneath the music and laughter lies the real sound, the quiet tension of a marketplace where human bodies are the only goods for sale. For a Kojima, every step is calculated. There is no freedom of movement here, you cannot leave the district without permission, and permission is rarely given. The narrow streets are designed to keep you visible at all times, both to entice customers and to remind you that there is nowhere to run. The hierarchy is merciless. At the top are the most sought-after boys, Tonkojima, whose calendars are filled months in advance. Their beauty and skill command the highest fees, but with those fees come obligations, endless performances, grueling schedules, and the constant threat of being replaced by someone younger. Below them are the Joro Kojima, the general rank, who take whatever clients they are assigned. They learn quickly that charm is not optional. If you displease a customer, the brothel master will know before the night is over, and punishments are quiet but unforgettable. At the bottom are the newcomers, the Shojin Kojima. Their job is simple: obey, observe, survive. They are dressed to look younger than they are, fed just enough to keep them pale and delicate. The clients who choose them are not seeking conversation. The unspoken rule of the quarters is simple: value is measured by demand, and demand is measured in coin. Friendships are rare, every boy is also a rival. Whispers travel faster than footsteps here, and alliances are traded as quickly as customers. Contracts hang over everything. A Kojima does not serve the client directly, he serves the brothel. Every payment is split, with the house taking the lion's share. A boy who tries to keep money for himself will quickly find debts appearing in the ledger, fines for training, for wardrobe, for lodging. Debts that grow faster than they can ever be repaid. And yet, from the outside, it all gleams. Lanterns glow. Silks shimmer. Clients laugh as if they are part of some great, sophisticated game. That is the genius of Yoshiwara, it makes captivity look like elegance. You begin to understand, the monastery and the samurai compound broke the body. Yoshiwara breaks the soul. The most expensive rooms in Yoshiwara are not marked on any map. They are hidden behind unassuming doors, guarded by silence and loyalty bought at a price. Inside, the lantern light is softer, the air thicker with perfume and pipe smoke. This is where the real transactions take place, not of money for pleasure, but of influence for leverage. Here, the clients are not just wealthy merchants or minor officials. They are the men who steer the nation in shadows, senior samurai retainers, high-ranking magistrates, envoys of the shogunate. They do not come here merely to indulge. They come to bind others to them. A beautiful boy, properly trained, is more than a companion. He is a witness. In his presence, powerful men speak carelessly, let slip secrets they would never say in daylight. The brothel masters know this. They keep discreet records, dates, names, whispered phrases. A gift of memory that can be turned into a threat when the time is right. Some Kojima are deliberately placed with certain clients. A rival faction in the government? Send them a boy with perfect manners and perfect ears. Within weeks, the brothel has a report, alliances, grudges, plans whispered over cups of sake. The boy smiles and laughs, but inside, he knows every word is a weapon. And sometimes, the weapon is the boy himself. In a society obsessed with honor, a rumor of being too familiar with a male entertainer could ruin a man's career, or his life. The most powerful brothel owners kept these rumors like gold, never spending them unless absolutely necessary. One whispered accusation, backed by enough witnesses, could make a samurai fall without a single sword being drawn. The boys rarely understand the scale of the game they're trapped in, at least, not at first. They are told to pour the tea, to listen, to laugh at the right moments. Only years later, if they survive long enough, do they realize they were pawns in a political board far larger than Yoshiwara's gates. For the clients, this is a safe place to be dangerous. For the brothel masters, it is a market in secrets. And for the Kojima, it is proof that their value was never about pleasure, it was about power. What began as ritual in the temples, transformed into art in the pleasure quarters, now becomes a weapon in the hands of those who rule. And weapons, once sharpened, are never put down. It did not end with a single decree. Yoshiwara was too deeply rooted, too woven into the economic and political fabric of the city, to vanish overnight. But by the mid-19th century, the cracks were showing. The first enemy was invisible: disease. Syphilis swept through the district like wildfire, its effects slow but devastating. For the Kojima, whose beauty was their currency, a single lesion could mean the end of a career. Some brothels simply sent the sick away to die in the countryside, replacing them with fresh faces brought in from poorer provinces. The second enemy came by sea. In 1853, Commodore Perry's black ships arrived from the west, and with them came a different kind of contagion: new ideas. Christianity denounced the practice. Western diplomats whispered of civilized nations, and their disdain for Japan's pleasure quarters. The shogunate, eager to avoid humiliation, began to consider reforms. But the most lethal blow came from within: the Meiji Restoration of 1868. The new government, obsessed with modernization, targeted the old systems of feudal control. Samurai stipends were abolished, and with them, the steady flow of elite clients who had once kept the brothels rich. The state began to regulate prostitution, introducing licenses and medical inspections that stripped away much of the mystique. Still, the Kojima did not vanish. Some adapted, rebranding themselves as kabuki actors, musicians, or private companions for the wealthy. Others slipped underground, where their services became more dangerous and more expensive. The coded gestures, the hidden meeting places, the whispered introductions, all remained, but now in the shadows. And yet, Yoshiwara itself limped on. The lanterns still glowed at night. The music still floated through the air. But the opulence had dulled, the silks looked thinner, and the faces of the boys were younger than ever, a sign of desperation, not prosperity. Those who remembered the old days spoke of it like a dream already fading, a place where beauty, art, and corruption had been inseparable. But for the boys who lived it to the end, there was no nostalgia. Only the knowledge that the world they had been trained to serve had shifted beneath their feet, leaving them stranded in a new Japan that had no use for them, yet would never fully let them go. What had begun as sacred ritual in the temples had burned through the centuries into something unrecognizable. And as the last lanterns of Yoshiwara flickered, the shadows they cast would stretch far into the modern age. If you walk through Tokyo's Asakusa district today, you will find no sign of the old Yoshiwara gates. The streets are quiet, lined with convenience stores and small apartments. But if you listen closely, really listen, some swear they can still hear it. The faint echo of shamisen strings, the murmur of laughter, the shuffle of sandals across polished wood. History insists that the Kojima are gone, that their world ended with the Meiji era. But shadows do not obey laws. They slip between years, attach themselves to new forms, adapt to new desires. The language has changed, the costumes are different, but the transaction, beauty for influence, intimacy for control, is older than any empire. Some say the elite never stopped using people as weapons. They simply traded silk for suits, paper lanterns for private clubs, tatami rooms for penthouse apartments. The Kojima became host boys, then celebrity companions, then something more discreet, and more dangerous. The faces change. The game remains. And in the private rooms where power still whispers, the same rules apply: charm them. Make them trust you. Listen more than you speak. Remember everything. The most dangerous man is not the one with the sword, but the one who knows the secret you can't afford to have told. The story of the Kojima is not just a tale of pleasure or exploitation. It is a blueprint. A reminder that beauty can be as sharp as a blade, that intimacy can be more binding than any chain. In the beginning, it was prayer. In the middle, it was art. In the end, it was leverage. And leverage never dies. Somewhere tonight, in some glittering city, a young man is pouring a drink for someone important. He laughs in all the right places. He leans in just close enough. He listens. He remembers. Centuries from now, another voice will tell this same story, in another form, with another name. And they will swear it's a relic of the past. But if you've listened carefully, you know better. Because once a weapon is sharpened, it is never truly put away.